There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome. You're tuned into the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. That's Tim Dennis. Hello, Tim.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I want to address something up front. The world is going a little crazy right now, and a lot of it's taking place right here in our backyard. And I've got hundreds of emails that have poured in and social media messages just asking that you and I are safe.
Yeah, yep.
First of all, at this point, we're recording on Friday morning, and yes, we are fine, we're safe, and hope to remain that way. But thank you all for your love and respect to check in on us. I don't want to belabor this too much because, again, we want to be an escapist place for you to go where you're not bombarded with the news that you're getting everywhere else. But I would like to take a second to just ask, and I ask this from a very selfish place. My son is a firefighter here in the Twin Cities. And I'm just asking folks around the world, just keep all of our first responders, firefighters, police, everybody in your prayers. I know that what happened was because of some bad cops making bad choices. That doesn't make every cop a bad guy. And I just, please keep them all in your thoughts and prayers, and especially Mr. Floyd's family for what's going on, and that they find peace in all of this and clearer heads prevail and justice is served. That's all we can ask, but please keep, my son's a firefighter. He's got to go out and put his life on the line now for these meaningless fires, for things that are being set on purpose to try, to just cause destruction. And my son knows what he's in for, as do all firefighters when they sign up for this. But, going into a house or trying to save people, save buildings, save homes, businesses, from accidental fires is dangerous enough, but to have to go in and clean up messes by psychopaths and morons setting fires out of rebellion is ridiculous. And now many people of many races are being put in danger because the firefighters are every race, creed, and color as well. So you're not targeting anybody specific, and you're going to do much more damage. Please focus this attention where it needs to go, and that the justice is served for the family of the Floyds, and that the police officers that are truly involved in this tragedy do get justice and swift justice. So I'll just put that out there, but do keep them all in your prayers. That means a lot. I also want to start off today's show with a special birthday greeting to my daughter, Jen, my oldest child, her birthday. We love you, honey. Thank you always for the love, support, the laughter, and being such a vocal advocate for our show out there, Tim. She works harder promoting our show than I think you and I do at times.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Jen. Yeah.
So, all right, we've got supernatural news. We've got some ParaShare stories. People have sent in recorded stories to us, Tim. That's how serious some of these people are.
Well, they are. Yeah, they're basically, they've said, we're going to forego the phone line and we're just going to take this work out of Tim's hands. Which really, it's not taking it out of my hands at all. I still have to edit it, but I appreciate the gumption of the better sound quality. I like that. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's nice, too. Now, we always want your phone calls at 651-300-4977, 651-300-4977. 4977. You can leave up to a 3-minute story, or if it's longer, hang up, call back, and continue the story. And you can do that as many times as you like. Tim has taken those and threads them together to create one perfect story for us to air on the shows. 651-300-4977 is the number to reach out to us. Exciting things are going on here. Lots of cool stuff going on with Darkness Radio. And as soon as everything is in place, we will let you know. It should be exciting new news coming very, 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 very soon. I know we've been promising you, but finally things are calming down. Businesses are getting back to work, and we will be able to let you know what's going on very soon. So let's get to it, Tim. What do you think? Should we dive into some supernatural news and ParaShare stories?
Sure.
Why don't we start with one of those recorded stories? One of the listeners recorded their own story and emailed it into us. Here it is. Enjoy today's first ParaShare.
Hi, this is Aaron from the United Kingdom. I just thought I'd send you this as a bit of a feel-good story. So, both my parents died of cancer a long time ago. My mother died first, and after that I was living with my dad in his flat, looking after him. And obviously at the time wasn't feeling too good, and it was a horrible time in my life. And yeah, each day was a bit of a struggle. So anyway, I started having feathers appear from really random locations, and they weren't just, like a feather from a pigeon or a dark colour. They were white and bright coloured feathers, and it started off just randomly. I'd find one here and there throughout the house. Eventually it geared up, and I was having a shower one day, and I put my hand out to switch the shower off, and a feather fell into my hand, which I thought was weird. And this kind of thing started to get more and more often. They would just fall out from nowhere and land on my hand when I reached for things, or just appeared when I turned around and they're on the side or whatever. So yeah, it was a strange feeling seeing these feathers everywhere, but I wanted answers, because I thought this isn't right. So I went to a spiritualist church in, basically near where I was living at the time, where I grew up. And it was, again, the strange things were happening on the bus. I went on the bus and a feather was on the seat. I got to the spiritualist church and I put my hand out to open the door, and again a feather fell on my hand. So it was all very strange. And I hadn't been to one of these before, so I didn't really know what to expect. So I went in by myself and sat at the very, very back near the door, because I was terrified, to be fair. And I was the first one there. I always get everywhere early, and I sat there and I was waiting for the service to start, and the woman who was the medium came out, and she looked over at me very intensely, and she kept eye contact throughout all the people coming in, the mingling, then the person, saying welcome, and the hymn and that, and she was looking over me, on and off, and like she was seeing something there, like just past me, and she would look at me again. And as soon as she got up to do her reading, she looked at me again and came straight over and said, "I need to speak to you. You've had feathers fall on you in random locations, haven't you?" It's just like that. I'd never seen this woman in my life before, and so I said, yes, I had, terrified. And she says, "There's an angel near you." And that was her explanation. That there's an angel near you right now, and that's why you're having these feathers, which I guess was nice at the time. She then carried on, and she did angel tarot cards, and so she was, told me bits and bobs from that, and she went on about my mother and things like that. So in the end, it was quite a nice thing, and it put my mind at ease more, and I started to feel a bit better after that, and I could look after my dad better for the last few months of his life. Okay, so I just thought I'd send you this. Thank you very much, and I hope you're all keeping safe. Bye.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing your story. We appreciate that. All right, Tim, here's some weird news.
All right.
Declassified CIA documents uncover Soviet Union's bizarre paranormal experimentation, including black magic, Tim. and telepathic mind control. Yeah, Twitter user Emma Best, a.k.a. NatSecGeek, recently proved the accuracy of her online title. Somehow she unearthed some decades-old national security documents that, in hindsight, make the CIA look like a bunch of sci-fi nerds, Tim. In the first of a string of tweets, Best describes the gem that took 4 years for her to get her hands on, a trove of 1977 CIA documents in which the U.S. agency studied the Soviet Union's apparent attempts to give people powers of telepathy. To give people powers of telepathy, Tim. Boy, that'd be a great little key to unlock, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
She closes that first tweet with a nod to the Freedom of Information Act, a U.S. law that allows citizens to request and access public documents. A quick zoom allows us to see the nuts and bolts of the CIA findings. Evidently, if they were real and Russians had possession of them, the U.S. wanted access as well. According to this, it says, some recent U.S. research suggests that it may be possible to use certain paranormal abilities for military or intelligence purposes. There are major uncertainties, however, about the extent to which such abilities exist, their reliability, and the mechanisms of their operation. Some recent U.S. research, Tim, believing that this is something that should be used. This was in the 70s. How cool is that? Right? That even in the 70s, we're not that far removed from it. Right. 40 years.
Yeah.
Right? They were still into this. Another document in the report goes even a little bit more strange, Tim. About 1969, we find out that black magic was also on the table. In 1969, the Soviets reportedly established an official group in their covert program devoted to the collecting of information on black magic. This group was assigned the tasks of identifying, locating, and evaluating the capabilities of sorcerers, witches, incantations used by the Soviet people, Tim. What do you think of them apples?
I love that people our parents' age are so weird.
Yeah. As the thread continues, Best includes additional documents from the report. These state that the CIA's conviction that the experiments appeared to occur right under the noses of higher-ups in the Soviet military. They're amazing to me is that many prominent Soviet scientists appear so involved politically that they are concerned only with the possibility of their own promotion and do not see what's going on in their own laboratories. According to this, their research very sloppy and often alleged discoveries that are then again later disproven.
Now, could you just see this, Dave? A world without nuclear weapons, a world without conventional weapons, a world where literally all you need to do to bring down your enemy is say simsalabim.
Imagine all the people. Yeah, I'd like to believe that world exists.
What do you do if you're a non-believer? I mean, you'd walk around impervious. You would be Superman. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Discoveries like this, Tim, they end up begging the question, if this research from the late 60s looks primitive now,
mm-hmm.
what research happening now will look primitive 30, 40 years from this point? Well, it's kind of interesting to think about, isn't it?
The fact that you could have took batteries out of anything and won.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Probably. Yeah.
Bizarre military history. In 1979, a crack commando unit was established by the most gifted minds within the U.S. Army. Defying all known laws of physics and accepted military practice, they believed that a soldier could adopt the cloak of invisibility, pass cleanly through walls, and perhaps, and most chillingly, Tim, kill goats just by staring at them.
Oh, poor goats. I mean, they're great eating, but...
What?
Yeah, haven't you ever had goat?
Oh, my God.
You've never been to Jamaica?
No, I wouldn't eat goat. They eat tin cans in the cartoons, Tim.
That's cartoons.
They eat barbed wire.
That's cartoons, Dave. They don't eat
Tim,
barbed
cartoons
wire.
Don't lie to us. Come here. Let me drop this anvil on your head and show you.
No.
You'll just squash down like an accordion and walk away going.
It's not true. Cartoons lie, Dave. They lie.
How dare you?
They do. They lie.
Yosemite Sam is not a liar, Tim. He may be short-tempered. Mm-hmm. He might be filled with rage and anger and hate that damn rabbit, Tim. But you're going to tell me he's a liar?
He's a big liar, Dave.
Nah, I hate that rabbit.
Big liar.
Hey, tomorrow, the After Death Chronicles, true stories of comfort, guidance, and wisdom from beyond the veil. Annie Mattingly joins us here on Darkness Radio. You know, I have to make one more acknowledgement, Tim. It's a weekend of acknowledgements.
Sure.
My son, Nathan, this kid is amazing. You know, he has busted his ass all through his school career. Mm-hmm. Amazing grades. He has been a star athlete. He is part of the ROTC program, is about to ship off to the military next week for 8 years. He'll be in the Army. All right. Mm-hmm. He was robbed of completing his senior year in college to compete in the big nationals, where he was poised to be in the top 5 for nationals this year, and he's busted his butt over it over the last 4 years of college. Mm-hmm. Literally got to the big event, was ready to perform, and they canceled it. And then we went into quarantine. So he'll never get that opportunity. And now he set school records, and he did amazing things. But, you know, that was going to be kind of the crown jewel for him. And then his academic career is amazing. The kid is just, and I know, boy, you're just a blowhard dad who's touting his, no, the kid really is a hero. Just an amazing, amazing man now. And he is graduating. He is being commissioned into the military today, Friday. And he starts his career with the military on Monday next week for 8 years. So we wish you the best, my son, and you know, may you always be embraced in the arms of the angels and kept safe through your entire journey. But this guy, he's going to set the world on fire as he gets older, Tim. This guy is going to bring things and make a difference. I have no doubt in my mind of that fact. Yeah,
most definitely. Congratulations, Nathan.
Very cool.
Can I toot one horn on my side for a second?
Yeah, please, toot away.
My brother Drew graduated last weekend from the University of St. Thomas from business school, cum laude, in honor society, and good job, Drew. There you go.
Fantastic, Drew. Congratulations to you as well. Congratulations to all the graduates who were kind of robbed of their opportunity this year, but realize that this opportunity and this moment that is kind of a hiccup in our system also leaves you with the fact that you will have the most memorable graduating class in history, right?
Yeah.
The year that wasn't.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, especially when commencement, it was online, which was very weird. It was kind of weird to sit there and watch a pre-prepared commencement ceremony online. It kind of on demand, which was very odd. It felt very cold. It wasn't exactly what all those graduates from the University of St. Thomas deserved. So it felt like all those kids got robbed, really.
Yeah, it's been a strange time, that's for sure. But you know, may all the graduates be happy, safe, and successful. And God, what kind of crap father am I? I've mentioned my oldest daughter's birthday, my son's graduation and military commission. Linus graduating as well. My son is graduating high school, and he is joining the military on July 14th, I believe. So a month after his 18th birthday, he will be joining the National Guard and off for basic and specialty training, and he'll be gone until I think January.
Wow.
So yeah, my bio dad, who I found earlier this year, called me on Memorial Day to say, you know, I was thinking, Dave, in our entire family, you are the first and only male child to have not gone into the military since the Civil War.
Since the Civil War?
Since every male family member of my biological family has been a part of the military.
Boy,
and I said, hey, I tried, which I did. I attempted to join the Army because I wanted to follow my grandfather's footsteps, who was a paratrooper in World War II. I wanted to follow in his footsteps and go airborne. Mm-hmm. But I dislocated my knees and my shoulder. I dislocated both knees repeatedly throughout high school. Dislocated my shoulder, and I had a heart condition called WPW, Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. So they wouldn't have me.
Okay.
But my oldest son, Cliff, served in the Navy. My son, Nathan, is serving in the Army. Linus is going to be in the National Guard. So, I just got to get my daughters to join the Coast Guard and the and the Air Force, and I will have covered all 5 of the big ones there.
Wow.
But, hey, look, I couldn't do it, but prolifically I've spread my seed, Tim. And all of my children are serving. So that should be a good thing, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Good God. So congratulations to all. All right, Tim, we're going to Savannah, Georgia, where a Savannah woman and her brother, thankfully, were not seriously hurt after a turtle launched through the air and became lodged in their windshield of their car.
Oh.
It's raining turtles, Tim. LaTanya Lark told WSAV-TV she was driving in Savannah this month when she saw an object that looked like a brick quickly approaching her car.
Uh-oh.
Suicidal turtles, Tim. It's sad.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Because especially it takes him so long to get to the bridge to jump, you'd thought he'd have had time to think about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's got to be, at least a good half year to get to the edge of the bridge. Yeah.
Nobody's going to talk me out of it. Lark began to slow down as the reptile smashed into the glass and was left hanging halfway in and halfway out of the window. According to the account, Lark's brother, Kevin Grant, was in the passenger seat, shielding his face as the animal collided with the windshield and sent shards of glass flying towards him. He was left only with small cuts, he told the station. Responding, Chatham County police officers called for the car to be towed from the scene. The officers pulled the animal from the windshield. The turtle was taken to a Savannah Animal Hospital for treatment, where sadly, Tim, it later died from its injuries.
You'd have thought, now follow me on this. It's going to be a short ride, unlike it was for the turtle. You'd think when that turtle jumped and the rate of descent from the bridge to the windshield, that would have been like the fastest that turtle has ever gone in its life, right?
Yeah. Do you think he was exhilarated? He's like, oh, this is amazing. I want to live. Oh, shit. Boom. And that was it.
Either that or on the way down, the excitement would have been so much that the turtle would have had a heart attack and that would have killed him rather than the injuries.
Could be.
Don't you think? Like the pure shock of going that fast would have just scared the little guy.
Yeah. It's something to consider. That's faux show.
Yeah.
Tim, people are nuts. I don't know if you figured this out.
Oh, yeah, I have.
But I love it. And thankfully so. Here's a house. Someone put their house up for sale. $999,000. Right, Tim?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's under $1 million. You can afford it.
Sure.
It's in California. It's a place you ought to be.
Uh-huh.
You should load up that truck and move to Beverly, Tim. Well. Hills, that is. Swimming pools. Movie stars. Somebody put a $999,000 house up for sale in California and poses as a Bigfoot in every photo of the house. Every real estate agent, Tim, is going to tell you good photos can make the difference when it comes to selling your home. But what if you want to, I don't know, draw maybe a little bit more attention to your listing? Mm-hmm. Well, that's when you add just a little Bigfoot, Tim. Someone noticed Bigfoot happily posing in the photos of a house for sale in Felton, California. At first glance, photos from the listing look pretty innocent. The house is beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. But soon enough, you're greeted with a series of photos of Bigfoot enjoying things like sitting on the couch reading Edible Mushroom book, right? A picture of him baking. You see him pulling cookies out of the oven, wearing a chef's hat and oven mitts.
Aw.
Uh-huh. And chilling out with a nice book. He's laying in bed. And he is reading Humans of New York. It's a beautiful room. Lots of sunny exposure as well. He also made some Zoom calls to a friend. Shows him in the recreation area with a fire-burning stove in that room, giving you a nice little insight. There's also a beautiful pose of him doing yoga.
Oh, wow.
Showing you the expansive deck behind him. And apparently, Tim, Bigfoot loves gardening, too, because there's photos of his big backyard where he's in the back pruning the hedges.
I bet he is.
A lot of folks are under a lot of stress and just hoping to lighten someone's day and make them smile. At the same time, hoping to spread awareness of the home for sale, said Daniel, and that does indeed seem to be happening. We've had an overwhelming amount of interest in folks calling to schedule appointments to see the property, and we are anticipating offers soon. Daniel has been an agent in the area since graduating college back in 2003 and has never done anything like this before, typically just focusing on really high-end photography and targeted marketing approaches. With a combination of the right property for Bigfoot and the right timing, this just seems to be going viral, said the agent. The man says he doesn't anticipate doing anything similar in the future, as he doesn't want to become overused, although he admits that he loves using a bit of humor to market the property. There's a nice picture of him as well in what appears to be a work area, because he is sitting there with a drill and creating what appears to be a birdhouse, Tim.
Really?
And then there's, of course, a picture of him sitting out on the deck, enjoying a nice cuppa and reading the listings. And then, of course, the nice photograph of him in this cathedral ceilinged living room area that appears to be right off of the kitchen on a nice leather sofa, just stretching out. And then, nothing beats a little workout. There's a picture of him stretching out and working out as well with his red, white, and blue headband on, his dumbbells, and just enjoying himself. And then there's a photo of him refreshing himself, Tim, with a drink from a beautiful stone water fountain in the backyard.
What if the birds have been bathing themselves in that fountain?
But it's Bigfoot. He's in perfect commune with the nature, Tim. But it does show that he's getting ready to go to the store. But in the current times, he's prepared, Tim, because he's wearing a COVID mask.
Oh, good. Yeah, we don't want Bigfoot getting the Rona. Yeah.
That's right. And then on his way home, once he's returned home with his groceries, put them away, you see a nice picture of him on this beautiful elevated wraparound home deck, just strumming away and looking to the sky wistfully while strumming away on a ukulele, Tim.
An ukulele, Dave?
That's how I've been told you say it properly.
Who told you that?
Ukulele, it is ukulele.
Who told you that?
A friend of mine with Polynesian descent.
Descent or descent?
He is from the islands, the Great Islands, the Big Islands, too, over there.
Which one?
Am I starting to sound like a certain public speaker? He's from a great place that's full of people that are great people. He's over in Hawaii. He told me, he wrote to me and said, Dave, it's ukulele. Ukulele, not ukulele.
You think maybe they're trying to put one over on you?
I don't. I believe him. I honestly do. I believe that it is ukulele.
Okay.
So I don't. Yeah, I'm not like you, man. I don't question people and automatically go into they're screwing with me. They're trying to take me down.
Okay.
Tim, that's your rant. That's your reason of insanity.
Okay.
Yeah. And don't worry, folks. The lovely Tim Dennis will be back to reading the news and carrying on as he often does soon. Just had a little jaw work done and
it was
hurts for extended periods of time talking. So I didn't want to put him through that.
Quite painful. Yeah. I'm still dealing with it. Yeah. It's bad. Put it that way. I won't call out the doctor that did it, but just put it this way. I've been in some enormous pain. I laugh so I don't cry, Dave. I laugh so I don't cry.
Well, I'm sorry you're in pain, and that's why I'm taking it.
I appreciate
it here. Yeah,
I do appreciate.
All right, since we've got Bigfoot, Tim, stalking a house, let's go to Colorado, where an eatery has filled their tables with ghosts to help it feel less empty. Seriously, this is what they've done, and the ghosts, according to the owners, are here to stay in at this eclectic restaurant. And they're pretty cool. They're sheets decorated, with the big black holes on them. And they've got them in different poses, sitting there with sunglasses on, looking down at it. There's one sitting at the counter with a cup of joe and an open book in front of them. It's pretty clever. South Broadway is a quirky part of the city that nuzzles up to the Baker neighborhood and is home to a variety of eclectic bars, restaurants, and shops. But many places have gone dark, covered with boards or only offering takeout, as the state works to combat the spread of the COVID-19. Sputnik, an eatery known for hip vintage vibes and vegan options, managed to make it through Colorado's executive orders, which forced it to serve to-go orders only for the past several weeks. The staff had been used to a bustling bar and restaurant, though, so to manage the empty and the quiet, a bartender had an idea. Ghosts. Matt Labarge, who owned Sputnik for 16 years, said one of the bartenders had an idea during the shutdown to fill up some of the booths with ghosts so that the place wouldn't feel so empty. It oddly feels nice to have, even though they're not real people, just some kind of presence in the bar, Labarge says. One of these ghosts sit at the bar every day and reads. A few more enjoy drinks in a nearby booth. As restaurants across Colorado prepare to reopen under guidance from Governor Jared Polis, the ghosts will stay put, Labarge said. They will be used to help diners maintain social distancing. Labarge says he is excited for the new phase and that to get things on track for a new normal. But he said it's also scary because the consequences are real. So what a clever way. You put these ghosts in between some of the booths so that nobody else can sit there, keeping you separated. It's great. I think it's a neat little deal.
The ghosts are a lot better than the sex dolls that were happening at the stadium. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, what?
There was a soccer team that over in Europe that had to start making stadiums look a little bit more full when they started play over there. So they needed to put something in the seats, and I guess mannequins were all taken. I had no idea. So they started filling the seats with sex dolls. So I think ghosts are a better alternative for.
Yeah, well, it certainly gives you something interesting to talk about. It'll be a nice little touch inside there. Speaking of a nice little touch, let's make it a personal moment again. We've got another story from one of our listeners who recorded their story and emailed it in to me at dave@darknessradio.com. So before our break, let's listen to this.
It was 2005. I had to get a job through school for work study so I could skip a few periods. A friend of mine said, "Hey, come work at Wendy's. It'd be great for you." So I said, "Hell yeah, I'd love to." So one night, my friend, who was the manager at the time, his name was Pat, we had to work real late and close. We lived in Thurmont, Maryland. Usually, Friday night, we close up about 2 a.m. and we get out about 2:45. Patrick lived about 25 minutes from Wendy's at the time, up in the mountains, deep in the mountains. After work, we hopped in his RAV4 and started driving. We made it up half of the mountain. We're laughing, listening to music like we both did. We're both musicians, having a good time, like two friends do, close friends do. We hit a stop sign in the mountain and crest over a hill. We both knew what to expect. There's a elementary school on the left-hand side of the mountain, and to the right there's a orchard. But after we crest over that hill, it would be something we both would never forget. The first thing I saw coming over that hill was a white Expedition parked at the end of the elementary school drive. The name of the school was Sibyllesville Elementary. It was parked at the very end, pointing out with its high beams on. And that was strange to me, being it was 3:30 in the morning. 3:30 in the morning. But that wasn't the strangest thing to me. When we both looked over the hood of that Expedition, looking at the illuminated skull, there was a ship hovering above the school, bigger than I've ever seen, shining its lights on the school, about 300 feet up, hanging in quietness. And I remember this because the first thing I did after Patrick and I hung our mouths open was I rolled down the window. I heard nothing. There was nothing to hear. It was quietness. All I heard was Patrick's RAV4 driving 20 miles an hour on a back road past this school. A huge ship in the sky illuminating a small elementary school with a huge mountain behind it. We were surrounded by mountains. We were both speechless. By this time, the music was turned off, and all I could hear was my heart. And I swear I could hear Patrick's heart beating. It was off beat. Our hearts weren't in sync at the time. As soon as I felt that, there was a light behind us. That Ford Expedition was following us with its high beams on, and it was getting close. By the time we started going up the mountain, I saw that ship or UFO shoot up 300 meters or more, and I saw it shoot over the mountain. Patrick and I both had our windows open at the time. It was not making one sound. Not one sound. I did not hear it. I heard our car, and I heard the car behind us. I never heard that ship, which I should have. There is not any technology in this world that can do that quick and make a ship launch off the ground and over a mountain in that time. It's physically impossible. But it did, and I watched it, and so did Patrick. By this time, we're 10 minutes from Pat's house, and now there's 2 cars behind us. I knew the one was an expedition, a white one, with government plates following us. The other one I wasn't sure, because it was behind the other expedition. We keep turning. We take a left. It takes a left. Both cars. We take a right. Both cars take a right. We have 2 vehicles following us. We finally make it back to Pat's house. We take a right into Pat's house, and we are scared shitless that these cars are going to follow us into his house. When we finally make it to his house, both cars, and they were both white expeditions, drive by. They drive by. We park, still hearing our heartbeats. Sat for a few minutes, trying to gather what just happened and what we saw. And we sat on the porch. Pat went inside for a second, and he grabbed a shotgun. And we sat on that porch until 8 a.m., until we both went to sleep, thinking someone's going to come back, terrified. So that night we both went to sleep. But that wasn't even the weirdest part. When we woke up, it was like nothing happened. We didn't talk about it. We didn't stress over it. We didn't ask each other questions. We just went on like it was our normal thing. It wasn't until years later that I told my wife about it. And she said, no, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. You're crazy. I'm like, yeah, you've always thought I was crazy, but really, you don't believe me? She was like, no, of course not. Okay. Let's see if Pat remembers. So we got invited to a shindig with my friend Pat, and it's been years at this time. It was years before we got to talk about it. And she went up and asked him, hey Pat, do you remember when you and Ben saw a UFO? And he said, oh my God, I did not think he remembered. Yes, and I'll tell you all about it. And he spoke to her the same story that I'm telling you now, down to the T. Everything was the same. So I don't know what happened that day. I don't know why we forgot everything after that. I'm not sure. Like, I've seen Men in Black. I know, they had the laser forgetter things. I'm not sure if that's what it was, but I know we saw something that day, and it terrified both of us. But then after, we forgot for a long time. And we both remembered now, years and years later. Now I started talking about it back when it was probably 2014. So I've been talking about it for a good 6 years now. But we forgot for a good 10 years what had happened. We didn't talk about it. I don't know what happened, but, that's my story.
This message brought to you by FEMA. Home fires occur most often in winter. Keep anything that can catch fire at least 3 feet from heating equipment. And never use an oven to heat your home. Stay in the kitchen when frying, grilling, or broiling food. Turn space heaters off when you leave the room or go to bed. Make sure all vents are clear of snow and ice to allow carbon monoxide to vent outside. Have your furnace, heating system, and chimneys serviced each year by a qualified professional. Learn more at www.usfa.fema.gov.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
And we are back. Thank you very much for tuning in and spending your time with us here on the darkness on the edge of town. I'm Dave Schrader. That's Tim Dennis. We have more stories to share, Tim. More signs of just how insane people really are becoming. A little buggy, you might say, Tim.
Oh.
Being stuck indoors. 3 brothers get themselves bitten by a black widow in a dream to become Spider-Man, Tim.
God, no.
It's true. It's true. 3 brothers' obsession with superhero films brought them close to a deadly encounter. Brothers from Bolivia, aged 12, 10, and 8, are sick because of the bite of a black widow. While herding goats, they poked the spider with a stick so that it would bite them and eventually turn them into Spider-Man. The incident happened in Chayanta, a town in the Andean region of Potosi, on May 14th. And Tim, don't bother challenging me. I will just tell you straight up. I have no clue if I said any of those words right.
All right.
But I'm going to stick with them.
Okay.
This was revealed to the world by health official Virgilio Pietro at a coronavirus briefing recently. The Marvel fans were sent to graze the goats while their mother went for firewood. When the kids came across the dangerous 8-legged being, they resembled the comic book story where a boy turned into a superhero after being bitten by a radioactive spider. According to the report by Telemundo, the boys kept disturbing the spider till it had bitten all 3 of them. When the mother saw all 3 crying, she took them to the healthcare center, from where they were transferred to another hospital. The report added that the kids had fever, tremors, and muscle pains the day after they were transferred for a 3rd time to a hospital in La Paz. Petro said that the children were treated and released after a week. He used the tale to make parents realize that children tend to believe whatever is shown in movies is real. According to National Geographic, black widows are one of the most feared spiders in the world. You know, Tim, I went to a coin conference, all right, a number of years ago in Colorado. And many of my coworkers that I was with decided, let's go up to Pikes Peak. Well, the only way to get up there is you have to get in this little, cable car.
Yep.
So in the cable car, on the way up there, suddenly I feel this, electric shock hit my calf. Right? I'm like, God, what the hell? A black widow bit me on the calf.
Ooh.
Halfway up, and it takes forever to get up there. So, plus you're way up high, super way up high, right? So you also get altitude sickness.
Ooh.
So now my blood is insanely thin because I'm up only where God should be walking.
Right.
I've got black widow venom zipping through me. I'm on this cable car taking me up to the top. I get up to the top. I stagger out. I look around real quickly and lay down on the ground until they say, okay, it's time to go back. Then they'd help me back to my car. chink all the way down for like another hour and a half.
Oh my God.
I asked them, they're like, oh, you're going to be fine. You're a big guy. It's a little bite. And so I sweated it for the next 2 days in my room. Sicker than a dog.
Ugh.
Yeah. Didn't turn into Spider-Man either. So kids, I'm with you on that.
You know, funny enough, they say, you know, you mimic when you're a kid, you mimic some of the stuff you see on movies or maybe you read in comic books. I did once happen to jump in front of a nuclear bomb blast, hoping I would become the Hulk. I got a little sunburn.
That's it.
I was hoping for gamma rays.
What is... Well, I mean, I'm sorry, I guess, Tim, is what it comes down to. I'm sorry that you didn't become the Hulk.
I tried.
Because it'd be really cool to honestly have a friend that's the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I know, but it didn't happen.
Sunburn, though.
Yeah, a little sunburn. Yeah. And occasionally I do turn colors. But
you do. I've seen.
Yeah, but that's about it. I don't get incredibly strong. I get really angry when the Vikings lose, but other than that, that's about it. Yeah.
Well, then we're all Hulks in the great state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
All right, a mystery is unraveling, Tim, as an evil ghost is masquerading as a child, and it's been spotted on a hotel closed-circuit television. The alleged ghost, or perhaps demon, was spotted on CCTV at the Eagle's Nest Hotel in Quincy, Illinois, which apparently has been a hotbed of so-called paranormal activity. A mysterious shadow has been caught darting out of an elevator on the hotel CCTV, with believers in the paranormal branding it an evil ghost. I've seen the footage.
Yeah.
It's creepy. It's this little dark, like, shadow. It looks like a scene from the Flash TV series, the way the Flash moves.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of shuttered, quick movement, and then back. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look evil to me other than the fact that it's a dark, shadowy figure. The creepy spirit was recorded at the Eagle's Nest Hotel in Quincy, where staff members have been reporting these kind of strange happenings for quite a while. In the clip, a hotel corridor is standing apparently empty with a cleaning trolley resting motionless and unattended next to the lift doors. That's elevator for us in the United States. Suddenly, a black shadow with a vaguely humanoid shape flickers through the doorway. It momentarily appears to hide behind the cleaning trolley and then darts back in just a split second of time, Tim. The spooky footage, which has been watched more than 2,000 times, which was originally posted by Jennifer Majors on Facebook back on May 14th. It has since been shared by the paranormal YouTube channel The Hidden Underbelly 2.0 3 days ago. According to the uploader, employees claim to have spotted shadows out of the corner of their eye and hear disturbing giggling sounds while trying to work. The maintenance man is apparently targeted the most, and weird things happen around him, they say. Even stranger, the elevator doors were said to be closed at the time, and if they had opened, you would see light from the elevator, according to the uploader. The CCTV has sparked a flurry of speculations from believers in the paranormal, with some arguing the black shape is a demon or an imp. Tim, an imp.
Oh, an imp.
Don't be fooled. It's not a child. It's a demon. That's what one person wrote. Demon pretends to be a child. Interesting, said another viewer. A worried-sounding fan commented, they need to be careful of it. It can physically move things and make a sound. This would make it a poltergeist and an unlikely, a real child spirit.
Now, if it brought you a delicious grilled Nutella and mayo sandwich, would you at
Wait,
that point?
What? Nutella and mayo?
Dave, have I never told you about this amazing creation?
Hold on. Oh.
No.
Stop.
No. I know at first it reviles you, but Mally and I actually tried this, and it was amazing.
I don't want to even hear about it. You and your sick little friend Mally Fox.
No. Yeah, I know you. What it is the mayo. You instead of spreading butter on it on the outside of the sandwich, you spread a little bit of mayo on it to grill it, and you put Nutella in the middle of it. It's a grilled Nutella sandwich. And it is amazing. It is the most
grilled Nutella and mayo sandwich.
It's mayo on the outside of the bread, and then you put and you use brioche bread, and you take and you put Nutella on the inside, and then you spread a little bit of mayo on the outside to grill it. And at first, your stomach turns, and you think this is not going to be good, but then you taste it, and you're like, oh my God, this is the best sandwich ever.
No, you know what's the best sandwich ever? My wife toasts 2 pieces of bread, then takes Nutella spread, puts it on one side, then gets marshmallow fluff and spreads it on the other and pushes it together, and I have a s'morewich. That's a delicious sandwich. What you've created, Tim, is the sandwich I would reach for thinking was a s'morewich because of the white and dark chocolate consistency. I would bite into it and begin projectile vomiting.
No, you're not imagining it correctly. See, the mayo is used like butter would be used when you grilled cheese. It's like a grilled cheese, but it's actually a grilled Nutella. So you don't actually see the mayo. The mayo is grilled into the bread, giving it it'd be like an egg white, like you're grilling an egg white instead of grilling butter. So you could put the fluff inside with the. Oh, actually, that'd be better. If you took the fluff and the Nutella, and then you put a little bit of mayo on the outside of the sandwich as you're grilling it, and then you grill that in there, that would be a true s'more sandwich. God. But see, if put a little
A1 steak sauce on your peach cobbler next time, you can thank me later, Tim.
No, that's disgusting. But I'm just thinking of
why is that disgusting?
Because that is a weird, bizarre gangbang of taste right there. But if you took that, if a small child spirit came along with that sandwich, I would say, well, hey, small child spirit, I don't think you're demonic. I think you're actually kind of a neat little child spirit. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
By the way, let's let people know that, Mally Fox has been resurrected, Tim. She is alive. She is well.
Well, she never died.
I know, but everybody's like, it's like she's dead is the way everybody treats me about this. Well, when are you going to bring her back? Oh, we all miss Mally. It's such a shame. And I'm like, she's still alive. She moved on to have a happy, healthy life, but she is doing a show now, and she's doing it with Tim.
Yeah.
So you can get the best of both worlds. You can tune into Darkness Radio with Dave and Tim, and then what is it? Once a month, you can check out
there's a new
On the Rocks with Mally Fox.
You got it.
Huh?
Yeah, you got it. And there's a new episode up right now.
God, don't. But you're eating Nutella and mayonnaise sandwiches.
That was a few episodes ago. But
yeah, how often does it come out? How often can people find you?
It's once a month, and if you look up On the Rocks Radio's YouTube channel, you just look for
that ROX or ROX?
ROX.
Right. On the ROX with Mally FOX.
You got it. See?
Yeah. So dig it up, check it out for yourself, folks, and there you have it.
Yeah.
On the Rocks with Mally Fox. So just out of curiosity, since that's the title of the show, how drunk were you that you thought Nutella and mayonnaise tasted good?
Actually,
remember, I went to college with you, and I saw you eat strange concoctions of food that sober you would not have enjoyed.
We weren't that drunk, but we had seen the story about it because we have a section of the show called Nutella News because Mally is very enthralled with Nutella.
That she is.
And so the story came across about the latest wave of Nutella food, which is this Nutella sandwich, which is actually made with, it's a grilled Nutella sandwich, which is made with mayo rather than butter. And I thought, this is the grossest thing I've ever heard. We have to make it. So when she came in studio, we decided to make the sandwich and try it together. And we were prepared to be ill. We had a garbage can ready to both throw up into. And lo and behold, it was one of the best breakfast dessert sandwiches I think we've ever tried.
I want you people to realize, though, that in college, I watched Tim once take a handful of White Castle sliders and dip it into strawberry jelly because we were out of ketchup. So I don't take anything he says when he's drinking seriously.
That was actually pretty good.
Eat your Nutella mayonnaise sandwiches very cautiously, my friends. All right, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Things are lifting. People are getting back to life somewhat, but maybe you're tired of the self-imposed vacation and you just need a straight-up vacation.
Mm-hmm.
What about a weekend on the water? Maybe that's something you and your family are looking forward to doing this summer, Tim. Maybe you could check out Hale's Bar, Marina, and Resort in the mountains of Guild, Tennessee. It's located on Lake Nickajack on the Tennessee River.
A what?
On Lake Nickajack, Tim.
You keep your own Nickajack to yourself.
I will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Hales Bar Marina is less than half an hour from Chattanooga. Pardon me, Tim? Is that the Chattanooga choo-choo?
Oh, God.
Yeah. And it's just 2 hours from Nashville, Tim. While you're there, you can rent boats, go camping at their RV park, and even stay in cabins that are actually floating on Lake Nickajack. Dave, what is this, a damn commercial for Lake Nickajack? No, shut up. You're listening to a paranormal radio show. Just give me some time. Jeez. Sounds pretty awesome to me, by the way. Mm-hmm. And if you're into the paranormal kind of thing, Tim, which I think our listeners are.
I think so, yeah.
Hales Bar Marina and Resort is located where the Hales Bar Dam used to be, Tim. Legend has it the dam was built on what was once, of course, Tim, sacred Native American land. Wasn't all of America sacred Native American land before white man came here and destroyed it all?
Yeah, newsflash. We landed on Plymouth Rock, or at Plymouth Rock landed on us. I don't remember how the line goes from the movie, but it's something like that. Yeah.
The dam was used from 1913 to 1967 due to the number of deaths during construction. The dam is actually considered the most haunted location in Tennessee, Tim. Tennessee? Don't worry, though. Visitors shouldn't have to worry about seeing any ghosts since all the cabins were constructed specifically for the result, unless they want to take a tour of the old dam. So there you go, Tim. You could go on these floating cabins, soak in the scenery. Floating cabins, Tim, on Lake Nickajack, right outside of the haunted dam. Floating cabin prices range from $99 to $275, depending on the size of the cabin and the time of year you're planning on visiting. If you can't afford that, for $7.85, Tim and I will float you out on a inflatable raft with a small child's Pokemon tent over the top of you.
It's quite nice, the Pokemon tent. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's got Squirtle on it.
Floating cabins. That's kind of good isolation, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The dam was built on old Cherokee territory. The Cherokees also believe the water where the dam was built was sacred. Due to the number of deaths during construction, the abandoned dam is considered, as I said, the most haunted location in the entire state of Tennessee. It was even featured once on Ghost Hunters, Tim. But all that remains of Hales Bar Dam is a series of tunnels, its large powerhouse, and the ghosts of those that perished long ago. So there you go. Cool. Just in case you want a little fun getaway for the weekend, Tim.
That's a little more than a weekend's drive, but I would take it up for a week.
Would you?
Yeah, I think I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something to consider. That's all I'm saying. U.S. paranormal investigators are sharing footage from a haunted house that even they refuse to re-enter, Tim. Here's one for the lovers and haters of all things cursed. 2 paranormal investigators in Louisiana have reported that they came across a haunted house, Tim, that they've compared to a real-life case that inspired the iconic flick, The Amityville Horror. Cindy Parr and Greg Matlock, this generation's Ed and Lorraine Warren, it's a big name to be hung on you, were called by the homeowner to investigate the spooky old house that's believed to be haunted by the owner's great-grandmother, Adele. We talked about this house a few weeks ago. This house is free to whoever wants to pick it up and move it. But in the footage obtained by the Sun, the pair, who've been in the ghost hunting business for 20 years, freak the bleep out upon coming in contact with an evil entity. In the clip, Matlock is heard calling out down a hallway for a sign of the spirit's presence. In response, a door slowly swings open. He then apologizes and said there's definitely something there. Parr explained that prior to the video, they had already performed another test which determined that the place is definitely haunted. On the second day, we actually went in and stayed the night. It killed 5 of our batteries, Tim. They feed off the energy, Parr told the publication. We asked for a sign if it wanted us to leave, and it shut down a light. We were like, okay. But we didn't leave yet. And get this, Adele's bedroom door opened up and then closed on its own, leading them to believe that this place is very creepy and definitely haunted. Now, Adele was quite small and frail when she passed at age 90, so the ghost hunters believe someone else must have been around as well. Matlock described a 2 a.m. encounter saying, I turned into the room and saw this black mass standing there. It wasn't a shadow or anything. It was huge, very wide. I don't think it was the older lady. I think it was something totally different. The figure was bigger and stood about 6 feet tall, he added. It started to turn, and I just thought, oh, no. And I ran out. I was done. It was unbelievable. Everything just slowed down. He adds that he could feel the power from the spirit, adding that it was bad. We got out, and I was definitely exhausted. It draws energy from you. My chest was hurting, he said. Scared for their lives, the duo said the prayers and got the heck out of Dodge. But on their way home, they changed their mind, returning to the house, Tim, where they experienced yet another spooky encounter. We could hear scratches on the walls, growls. It even started to smell like urine upstairs, Tim.
Urine?
I'm trying to sound all classy with that one.
I guess.
That's how they say it over in the UK, Tim.
Is that where you have a friend over there who told you that one?
Actually, well, we've heard Neil's story on our show. He's called it urine.
He has?
Yes.
Was I sleeping during that one?
Folks, ukulele and urine. I'm telling you. They also call it aluminium, Tim.
Well, I've heard
urine.
Urine?
But that's not your average ghost, according to the article. That's something really bad, Matlock added. It was like watching Amityville Horror on TV, but we were living it. The house is definitely the worst house we've ever been in. Dawn Valet de Clout, the owner of the house and Adele's great-granddaughter, said said her relatives built it in the 30s and she lived up there until the 1980s. I want to see what happens when someone else lives in it. I don't think they're going to be able to stay, the sadistic-ass woman said, according to this article. I didn't call her that. This article did. So what now? Well, the new owner has purchased the home and intends to move the house 20 miles away to avoid the entity. Huh. Crazy, huh? Maybe they can get rid of the urine smell with somebody playing the ukulele, Tim.
Well, they could always take a different kind of rind. I mean, you can get a watermelon rind or a muskmelon rind.
That's a rind, Tim.
Oh.
Yeah, a rind, Tim.
Never mind.
Hey, our buddy Nick Groff is back. Nick is one of the most respected names in television and beyond when it comes to the paranormal. He has had incredible experiences in some of the most haunted locations in the world. And how about this? The producer extraordinaire is about to share his knowledge and insight on all things that go bump in the night with his bi-monthly column he's going to be putting on over at arrowinthehead.com, Tim. JoeBlow.com. One of those. Yeah, Nick Groff investigates. That'll be his deal. And this time he's investigating werewolves, Tim. Werewolves. Horror has its share of monsters. You can party all night with vampires. Perhaps you'd rather go for a swim in the Black Lagoon or even in the ocean near Amity Island. And if you happen to be in Egypt, you could always rap with the mummy, Tim. Get it? Rap? W-R-A-P?
Right.
Yet, one of my own favorite ferocious frights that genre has presented only come out when the moon is full. Generally speaking, of course. And it all started for this viewer with a 1-2 punch of a couple of my favorite scary movies, and both came out the same year. In 1981, two fantastic tales exploded and explored the nature between man and beast. Both The Howling and An American Werewolf in London proved that comedy horror, smarts, and amazing special effects could make you afraid of the glowing moon, or, if you're in London, convince you to stay off the moors. Even still, these two magnificent films remain prime examples of how to do a monster movie right. Each offers up a compelling story and script, terrific performances, and impressive direction, and boy, those practical effects. Those are pretty glorious even today, Tim. I don't care who you are. Those are some pretty cool special effects.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the idea of a man turning into a wolf didn't start there, not even close. These stories started well before Hollywood made Claude Rains a legend in the 1941 movie The Wolfman. That wasn't Claude Rains. Sadly, this article is already incorrect. That would be Lon Chaney Jr.
Yeah.
Who then became Lon Chaney.
Yeah.
Real name Crichton Chaney, but took on the name Lon Chaney when his father passed the mantle on to him. But I digress.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this classic story has been explored in a number of exciting ways, including everything from the Underworld series to Neil Marshall's impressive Dog Soldiers to the underrated Eric Red flick Bad Moon featuring Michael Paré and Mariel Hemingway. And that's only a few of the many iterations of bad old beasties hunting down their human prey. With the upcoming sequel, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, there was some speculation that we'd hear more about Ed and Lorraine Warren's investigation of the South End werewolf. The very subject was hinted at in the thoroughly entertaining Annabelle Comes Home, Tim. However, it's highly unlikely that Satan will be conjuring up a wolf man for the third chapter in the franchise, unless they are coming off of that case. Like they always like to start the movie with a case they're just wrapping up. Mm-hmm. So that could be what we're going to see. Yet this had me thinking about the myth and the legends behind a man transforming into a wolf. With the hint of werewolves among us and supernatural scares, it felt like the perfect topic to explore on this week's Nick Groff Investigates. Before we started, Nick and I had a quick chat about the subject. That's what this article says. And I became curious about his take on not only the many movies made about them, but the history of the lycanthrope. So let's spin that excellent Warren Zevon tune, Werewolves of London, and get ready to take a bite out of the history of the Wolfman. According to this article, it says, and it just goes on to really kind of dig into the concept of what werewolves are. Nick says, as a movie fanatic and explorer of the unknown, I'm always looking for the next thrill to experience. Werewolves have always been fascinating to me. I love a good film based on a plot revolving around a werewolf. Some films that have come to mind: An American Werewolf in London, one of my favorites; Silver Bullet, another one of my favorites; The Howling, another great one; Dog Soldiers; Ginger Snaps, which people forget about. That trilogy is a great little set of movies; Bad Moon; Teen Wolf; An American Werewolf in Paris, crappy movie; Wolf, also another horrible movie with Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer, should have been good; and The Werewolf. Yes, I love all these films for certain reasons and not in any order, yet my go-to has always been An American Werewolf in Paris. There's something fun about it, but also frightening at the same time. Traveling to different locations all over the world has led me to learn more about creatures within the unknown that could have existed a long time ago or still remain hidden within the shadows of our reality. Although movies are an escape from our everyday life, the scary part is they are depicted from some story that started a long time ago. People will always be interested in the werewolf subject because the idea of a half-man, half-beast is a fascination to most because they're looking for something frightening. Just like anything else in the supernatural, where death isn't the end. When you become a werewolf, it's the beginning of a new life. There are also true tales of unidentified half-man, half-beasts, including the Werewolf of Southend, which Ed and Lorraine Warren were involved in. These stories and eyewitness accounts start somewhere and evolve over time. I believe we live in a world that is vast, and we don't have all the answers into the unknown. Even though we personally can't see these supernatural beasts, that doesn't mean they don't exist. The Werewolf of Southend case was interesting, but I would like to learn more about the conclusion and evidence to back it up, Nick says. I've personally experienced weird creatures and have been surrounded in the dark forest at Hinsdale House by coyotes and other cryptids. I can only talk about what I've experienced through my journey, so I'm open to the possibility of other interesting creatures that hide in the darkness. Human beings have labeled werewolves as different names throughout that time we've walked the earth. I know someday I will cross paths
right
at a location that will hold some of these answers that I still question, and will wait for that next experience that opens my mind up even more.
So you got one tool that you can take with you when you're out there looking for werewolves. What is it that you take with you?
A Nutella and mayonnaise sandwich.
Oh, that's good.
I sure as hell aren't going to eat it, so I'll leave it as bait for the werewolf.
I'm sure it would enjoy it immensely. You know what I take with me? I take a pocket full of milk bones. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. So I take, because you can always
pocket full of milk bones. It seems like you're looking for trouble with the coyotes then.
No, because you can distract, I think, a werewolf with a pocket full of milk bones. I think you just...
Wasn't that an album by the Spin Doctors at one point?
It was, Pocket Full of Milk Bones. That was one of their better albums. Yeah.
All right, Tim.
Yeah.
In the comedy Extraordinary, Will Forte seeks a virgin to sacrifice in a deal with the devil. During several seasons on Saturday Night Live, Will Forte provided impersonations of an array of politicians, including an enraged Zell Miller, a hapless George W. Bush, and a solicitous John Edwards. But in the comedy Extraordinary, he plays Christian Winter, an aging one-hit wonder desperate to climb back to the top of the charts with a new song. He's moved into a castle in Ireland and needs the money and an ego boost to prop up his high opinion of himself, but rather than sell his own soul, he's a Satanist. Mostly for business purposes, Tim. And he needs a virgin to sacrifice to get the deal done. There are plenty of lost souls stuck in the small town near Winter's castle, but nothing's easy for him, as every spirit seems to be struggling with his or her own issues. Director Mike Ahern and Enda Lauman's movie makes nods to The Exorcist and Ghostbusters, especially with the expulsion of ectoplasm, but it's a clever comedy about paranormal affairs being quite normal. The town is overrun with ghosts and spirits. Martin, played by Barry Ward, lost his wife who never really departed. Her ghost burns messages into toast and intervenes and nags him from beyond the grave. Their teenage daughter, Sarah, played by Emma Coleman, takes it all in stride, aware that her father hasn't moved on with his life either. Rose Dooley also is stuck. She is the daughter of Vince Dooley, a well-known authority on paranormal happenings whose extensive series of videos look like infomercials. He died in an intervention gone wrong, and though Rose inherited the gift of being able to commune with spirits, she is haunted by the loss of her father and makes a living as a driving instructor. Fans of NPR's news quiz, Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, may recognize her voice as a regular panelist on the show, Tim.
Oh.
As Rose drives around town, viewers realize that supernatural occurrences are mostly mundane and trifling. Every overturned garbage can or squawking bird seems to be attributable to a ghost who, like Martin's ex-wife, is still hashing out petty grievances. If Rose got back in the business, it seems like she'd be more of a therapist than an exorcist. It's an amusing commentary, they say, on carrying unresolved grudges to unreasonable ends. While the town is relatively at peace, Winters is brewing up a storm in his castle. He's planning his ritual sacrifice for a coming full-blood moon, and he needs to find a virgin. Opening up the gates to hell is going to take a while and make quite a mess for somebody, Tim. The comedy starts gently, and the townspeople seem effortlessly quirky, despite the movie's simple premise. Forte deftly manages Winters' banal evil. The movie picks up speed and fury as Winters finds his target. As all the spirits' paths converge, the story takes some wickedly funny turns, though one of the creepiest begs for better execution. In the end, the devil is in the details, and Ahern and Lohman's film is not too guilty pleasure. Extraordinary is available online, so look for it. Extraordinary, that is the new Will Forte supernatural farce, Tim. Just thought that sounded like a fun little story to share. And speaking of fun little stories, Tim, we've got one last call. Shall we share it now?
Oh, yes.
All right. And actually, this isn't even a call. One of our listeners recorded this story, sent it in to us. Next week, we'll play your calls again, 651-300-4977, 651-300-4977, or record your message and email it into me at dave@darknessradio.com, or do it the old-fashioned way. Email me your story, and we'll read it right here on the show.
Hello, Dave and Tim. I've listened to your show since the days of Mally Fox. I've always found your show entertaining, and the two of you to be great hosts in a realm where straightforward information can be very hard to find. I still think the Snallygaster bit from years ago, "Tentacles? These are tentacles?" is one of the funniest things I've ever heard on the radio. Most of my life has been mundane, somewhat boring, and 100% devoid of anything paranormal or supernatural. I'm an amateur astronomer and have spent hundreds of hours looking at the night sky. I've seen several things that I cannot explain. To me, they are just additional pieces of wonder in the creation of God, so I don't worry about them. I've spent years in the deep woods alone and with my sons, and I've never seen a Bigfoot or anything that was not easily explained. But when I was a child in the deep rural wasteland of Louisiana, I did have an experience over several months with something that I cannot explain through the normal rules of physical causality. I don't know if I experienced a ghost, some rift in reality, or just a memory that was attached to a place. But whatever it was, it probably saved my life, and it left a mark on me that is still warm, wondrous, and very pure. The town was Converse, Louisiana. The year was 1964. And I can remember the time this experience started, because it was just a few months after President Kennedy had been assassinated. We moved away from that town several months later, and I left behind what was perhaps the purest friend I have ever had or ever will have. My family lived in a trailer just east of what is now called Evans Loop. Almost everything that was there is now gone, but in 1964, there was an abandoned oil derrick and toxic waste dump just behind the trailer, a huge deep pine forest, and, most importantly, an abandoned ice production facility, or as we called it, the Ice House. It was a masonry building, perhaps 75 years old, the size of a gymnasium, with basements that extended far underground. It was filled with abandoned machinery that in the past had used ammonia to make huge blocks of ice that would be delivered throughout that part of Louisiana with trucks and probably horse-drawn wagons. There were metal vats within it the size of cars, and these were filled with years of stagnant and green water, snakes, insects, and even nutria, which I thought of as rats as large as medium-sized dogs. Somehow, there was still electricity in the building. It had high glass windows, most of which had been broken, chains hanging from overhead gantries, and massive holes had developed in the slowly deteriorating concrete floor. Vagrants would sometimes sleep there. Teenage boys would go there to smoke and tell stories of their bravery, and occasionally, but very occasionally, the local sheriff would drop by to make sure nobody had taken up residence there. It was an absolute death trap for a young boy, and I was forbidden to go there. That meant, of course, that I went there as often as I could. I can still see the streaks of sunlight that filtered through the moist, dusty, stinking air of that old ice house, making the deep shadows within even more ominous. If a boy wandered deep enough into the pine woods behind the ice house, he would find a family living back there in an ancient compound of log cabins. They had no electricity or running water, and being curious, I would hide in the trees and watch the family, hoping to play with some of the many children. Eventually, they noticed me, and a kindly, tiny, gray-haired and toothless woman told me I was welcome to play as long as I didn't bring no trouble or haints. Those were her words, and I had no idea what a haint might be. I know this family's name, but I will not say it here, as they deserve their privacy. The family was multiple generations, and generally unremarkable, except for one thing. About half of them had 6 fingers on each hand. These weren't loosely attached digits hanging from the side of a normal finger, as you sometimes see, but true 6-fingered hands that were strong and supple. As the kids were often barefoot, I could see that some of them had 6 toes on each foot, though not as many. These, too, were fully functional toes, just attached to a very wide foot. I asked the kindly old lady why the family's hands and feet were the way they were, and she said, "God made us this way, child. It means we're guardians. That's the guardian hand. Haints see that strong hand with the extra finger, and they will not come out of the shadows. It's a gift from God. It's a gift from the Lord, and our family is blessed. Now you go play." So I did, and soon it was just a normal part of that family. Their house was too far away for me to hear my mother calling me, but one of the young girls with 6 fingers knew exactly when my mom wanted me to come home. She was always right. My father told me to not go around those trashy, crazy people, but he was rarely there, and the children were my friends. Over time, the old lady asked me to call her Grandma Sally. She wore an apron with a huge pocket, and that pocket always held a tattered black Bible. She would look at me and say, "You get your letters, child, then you can read the word of the Lord." And she would pat the Bible and beam. I never told her that I could already read. My father was a man who learned to be a good man later in his life, but when I was a child, he had not yet completed that lesson. He was absolutely jubilant about the death of John Kennedy. LBJ asked the nation to leave their porch lights burning as a tribute to the fallen president, and my dad shot out our porch light with an old pistol that he kept in his truck. Soon, he and my mother were screaming at each other any time he was home, so I retreated to the guardians in the woods and the terrifying and deeply inviting ice house where I was forbidden to go. One hot spring morning, well, it's never really cold in that part of Louisiana for long, I escaped the turmoil in my home and went seeking adventure in the ice house. I snuck in through a broken delivery door and started to explore, walking between the vats, poking at the occasional snake with a stick, trying to figure out the functions of the rusted machinery, wondering why there was so much salt on the floor. Yes, I tasted it, and simply reveling in the freedom, quiet, and the palpable fear that remained in that place. I'm not a sensitive or an empath, but this crumbling building had seen so much pain, so much tragedy, so much betrayal that its walls, the vats of water, the crumbling floors, and the hanging chains were all saturated with human suffering, desperate to be heard and screaming to be comforted. That's when I saw two things that are critical parts of this story. First, there was a place in one of the back corners of the ice house that seemed to absorb all light that found its way there. It wasn't just darkness so much as it was a malignant, insect-like nothingness. It pulsed, and if it loved anything at all, it was only meaningless, anger-driven death. That malignant nothingness called to me. I heard it, and I knew that I could resist that call for only a short time. It called, "Victor, come here. This is what you want to find." At the same time, I saw a wooden plank that extended across one of the vats. The idea might have come from within my mind, but I'm not at all sure of that. I saw myself as a circus tightrope walker, tall and muscular and smiling, traversing that plank with limitless skill and bravery instead of the dirty, sweaty, barefoot 6-year-old boy I really was. I headed toward that plank, determined to walk across it. I could see that it was old and gray, and that it was already full of cracks and places where the wood had chipped away, but I headed toward it anyway. As my right foot was about to step on the board, the very air, it seemed, spoke to me. The words were in my head, and they were pressure against my skin, and my ears reverberated with a sound I could not locate in 3 dimensions. It was a voice that had not spoken in a very long time. It was a voice full of dust and cobwebs and creaky hinges. One could hear the memory of long-ago regrets and faded triumphs in that voice. Of course, as a 6-year-old child, I just heard a voice that I knew should be listened to. It said, "You commence across that board, and your mama ain't never gonna find you." I froze in place, and I stared into the water. I looked at the broken delivery door and at the beams of light streaming from the ceiling, looking for the source of that sound. I felt something, some energy in that great, wet room, but I saw nothing. I backed away from the vat. Again, I heard the voice from the air and in my head. It was firm, but not unkind. "Now you get out of here. Maybe you come back directly, and maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to mogrify. It feels like a damn long time." That was the word I heard. Mogrify. I had no idea what it meant, but I knew that it mattered. The word damn shocked me a little bit, but soon such words just felt like a natural part of him. Yes, he had a name, but the story of how I learned that name matters a great deal and deserves its own telling. As I made my way to the broken door, I did see us shimmering like an old photograph that didn't develop correctly. He was thin and tall. I could see through him, but I knew he had farmer's skin and old, heavy boots. He had the kind of hair that always does just what it wants, whether it's working in the field or trying to look civilized in church. His left arm pointed toward the door, and his right arm was held out to his side, as if he were holding something back. He had sinew and corded muscles, and the arms held the shadow of what had once been tremendous strength. I met his eyes, or at least it felt like I met his eyes. He glanced toward the door, and I followed his gaze, down toward his hand, which was strong and wide, and endowed with 6 functional fingers. Yes, I did go back. I felt I was probably safe there. No, I've never told this story to anyone, not even my mother, though I think she knew some of it. It was a few months of safety in a very dysfunctional family. Yes, this story is real. Yes, I've taken the time to write it in a way that conveys my memories and emotions and to record it the best I can. And yes, other parts of the story will be told as time goes by. And yes, I realize that many people will perceive me to be either a fantasist or a liar. I am comfortable that I am neither. These experiences are part of a gift that God granted me, and the memory of the guardian hand still brings me comfort and makes me think of Grandma Sally and her ancient Bible.
Another fantastic tale. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Let's do a couple of quick emails before we wrap up. What do you say, Tim?
Sounds good to me.
This one is entitled College Dorm. Comes to us from Brian. He says, "This isn't about my party nights. This is about a night I don't discuss much. I don't truly know what happened. I've heard the stories of my dorm being haunted, but didn't experience anything until my 3rd year living there. So I woke up during the middle of the night alone. My roommate must have been out. I felt odd. I couldn't move. I started to worry, and I felt like something was watching me. I was starting to revive my muscles and get up to my knees when I noticed a dark figure in the corner of my room. I crawled to it. It was a scary experience, but I'd like to go through it again. Hopefully you enjoy my true tale, Tim and Dave." Well, you left us hanging, though, Brian.
Yeah.
You crawled toward it. Did you touch it? Did it touch you? Are you still seeing one another? I just want to know a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, how far did it go? Yeah.
Hello. That's how this one starts up. This comes from Pamela. "I wanted to say that I downloaded your app, and while I was listening to the story of Barbara Holland, I related to her story because something similar, very similar, happened to me when I was 2 living in New York. Since then, I've been a fan of the paranormal, and I try to learn as much as I can about these type of things. Your podcast was very informative. I'm just going to share my story real quick. When I was living in New York, I was little. I can't remember well. Maybe I was 5, I think. I used to live with my aunt, my cousin, my aunt's husband. I used to sleep with my cousin in the same room, and one night I woke up in the middle of the night in my bed, and I opened my eyes. I saw this tall, white, handsome man, maybe in his 30s, just looking at me from the corner of the room. He was wearing all white, and I think I could see through him. He was just there, standing, just looking at me. I remember I was so scared and terrified. I told my aunt and my cousin, and they didn't believe me. Since I used to sleep with my cousin, I asked her if she saw it too, and she said she never saw anything. So I was at this point the only person who saw it. So every night this man used to appear, and I couldn't sleep, and every night I used to cry and tell my aunt I didn't want to sleep in that room. The strangest thing is that, one, he never spoke to me. He never did anything bad to me. He just stood there staring at me. So one day my aunt went to pick me up from school, and while we were walking back to the apartment, she told me she saw the same man I described to her that I saw every night, and that he was in the room I used to sleep in, just standing there. And my aunt told me she spoke with him and told him to leave, and since that day I've never seen him again. But that image and the way the spirit or whatever it was looked like it is still in my mind today. I have never forgotten that, and the creepy thing is that I told my mom about it later, and I described how this man looked, and she told me she used to see the same man when she was pregnant with me, and that to me was very scary. I don't know if it was something protecting, trying to make contact with me, or what. I really just don't know. But when I found and heard Barbara Holland tell her story, it reminded me of mine. It may not be too similar, but for some reason, some of the things she said reminded me of my story. Also, my name is Barbara. That is my first name, but everyone called me Pamela, and that's my second name. So that, too, I found a little weird, since we both have the same name, me and her. If any of you know something about what I'm talking or some insight, I would really appreciate it. Thank you, and stay safe. To me, it just sounds like a guardian angel, Tim. I don't know about you. If she saw this man in white who always just seemed to stand there and watch over her, her mom saw him when she was pregnant, and the aunt saw him, I would say, since he never seemed menacing or scary, he's probably just one of your guardians.
Either a guardian or a relative you've never met who is taking an interest or a shine to you that is looking out for you, yeah.
Hey, Dave and Tim, I had an unsettling encounter last night. I returned home from work as a school police officer at 7:20 p.m. I had brought my wife a sub to eat and was getting settled in. After about 20 minutes of being home, there was suddenly a distinct knocking on the front door.
Come in.
Probably 5 or 6 knocks. We all heard it clearly. My wife and I looked at each other. Our small dog began barking at the door. And our toddler sprang up as well. We were confused as to who it would be. We weren't expecting anybody, and we live spread out enough from the highway and any neighbors. I was actually right next to the front door, so I immediately semi-cautiously opened the door, and there was nothing there. No person, no animal, no wind. The screen door was shut. It was still light out. I could see there was nothing. My wife mentioned about how I could have let... I'm sorry, I'm losing my place on this. How I could have let something in. I quickly told whatever may have entered or tried to enter that if it wishes us any harm, that it is not welcome in our home and has to leave, and asked my wife to say a prayer. I'm a believer in the paranormal. However, I never actually had any real solid experiences. There's always been some sort of logical explanation. Most of the time, I believe it's people's imagination or fear or hope to have an experience, but this was different. We had never felt uneasy in this home in the several years we've lived here so far. This was a first. I was wondering if there's any knowledge you could pass on to us of what this encounter could have meant. I've heard of the whole 3 knocks leading to death and doom type of tale, but I'd like your take. I love your guys' show. Dave, you're one of the few paranormal personalities that I really enjoy. I'd love to hear back. You can use this for the podcast if you like. Thanks and take care. That comes from Corey. Well, first of all, Corey, that's news to me. I've never heard that the 3 knocks means death is coming.
Yeah.
I've never heard that. I don't know. I mean, it's just a one random shot in time, Corey, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. And again, could it have just been a ripple effect in time? You know, somebody may knock on your door 5, 6 times in a week from now or a year from now, and maybe you're just capturing that one brief moment in time, kind of reflecting back or forward in time. I'm not sure. But if there's no other corroborating activity, I would say that it's nothing to be concerned about. Or is it? Hi, Dave. Longtime listener. Love you and Tim. What type of night vision binoculars do you recommend for nighttime sky observation? Thanks, Marcia. Marcia, you really only want to get something that's military grade because the other ones just they're not powerful enough, at least not that I've found. I know that I'd used, I think it was 3rd gen and 4th gen when I went out. They're expensive. I'm just giving you that heads up. They are expensive, but certainly worth it. I've seen some amazing things in the skies, so check that out. But yeah, military grade, like 3rd or 4th generation. Bonjour, Dave and Tim. I had an idea about the recent UFO disclosures. Correct me if I'm wrong, but none of these are new or recent videos. In fact, I think at least one of them was previously released. Perhaps it is part of the slow release, testing the water, so to speak, in order to gauge the public's reaction. They know people are hungry for info on this topic, so what if these are strategic releases? I've had a couple of those in my life, Tim.
Yeah.
And by strategic, I mean as a distraction, like the magician. Ooh, pay attention to this over here while I do that over there. We have a certain individual who likes to distract and stir the embers to deflect us, and himself, not only reality, but the truth of more important things and what's really going on. I haven't dug too deeply yet, but perhaps these items are now eligible for the Freedom of Information Act, so releasing them isn't an issue. Just a thought, and that comes from Q. Susie Q, Tim.
Oh.
Could be. I know a lot of people have been talking about that. It's the slow roll. I don't know.
Well, Q, let me throw one thing at you. And I know where you're leaning with your email, and that is somewhat political, but I'll throw one slightly political thing at you, and that is that person you're talking about doesn't believe in UFOs, so it really doesn't matter to that person whether you get that information or not.
I wish you guys would stop talking in cloaked messages to one another. I feel so left out of this.
Oh, come on, Dave, you know who we're talking about.
I don't. Whatever. I do know who I'm talking to tomorrow, though. Annie Mattingly joins us here on Darkness Radio, the After Death Chronicles. That's tomorrow here on the best in Paranormal Talk Radio. For Tim Dennis, I'm Dave Schrader. Remember, we want to hear your stories. Call us 651-300-4977, 651-300-4977, or email your recorded stories into us at dave@darknessradio.com, or just email me your stories, and I'll read them as we have just done. Thank you all. Be safe, be kind. Remember to keep Minnesota and the families affected by the tragedies that continue to go on in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you so much. Be safe, be kind, love one another. We'll see you back here tomorrow on the best in Paranormal Talk Radio.